So in case of Python, what I prefer that if I share you share the whole screen, otherwise uh, so I think the screen is uh, okay. So now the thing is that how we actually run Python, that is the first thing. Then we will discuss the basic things of Python. But before that, what you should do, like that, you just see my Gmail account is being logged on, and the thing is that I'm just, that if your Gmail account is logged on, you're just creating a new tab and you just write Google Colab. You just write Google Colab. It will open this, you know this particular thing. If you click on that, that will be looking like that. Since I have a lots of Python file, it will be like that. Otherwise, you can just create a new notebook, right? If you create a new notebook, that would be looking like that. When you are creating a new notebook, that will be looking like that. This is a uh, untitled name. You can change the name, say new, just notebook, whatever you can. And the file name is ipynb. In somewhere the file name is only py, since that is a near about Jupyter notebook. I am using that, whatever be the thing. At least you should know that the file name, in case of C you are using .c file. In that particular Python, when you are using in Google Colab, that should be ipynb. Now that is the part you can write the code, right? This is the part you write the code. Say I'm just writing this print, and say I'm just writing like that. I'm just writing this, and I'm just clicking on that button. You will see in that particular, this is a connecting, and that will be the Google Compute Engine that will be running. That is not your headache, and that is connected. And a RAM and hard disk is allocated by the Google for you, and you just see the RAM is near about 12.69 GB, and the disk that is allocated for you 107.72. That's huge amount of thing are has been allocated for you. And you just see that I'm just writing print my name. It will print my name, right? And if you want to mention some text over that, that means in what algorithm you are working, you just want to write the descriptions, you can click that text. And in that particular text, you can write that the implementation, like I am sorting algorithm or something else, whatever be the thing. uh, uh, that is the thing. And the thing is that I can go through the bold or italic or whatever be the thing. That's up to you. That is the sorting algorithm, you can see. And again, when we are clicking this code, that portions will come, and you can write anything in that particular case. Like if I am just writing 2 plus 6, I am just pressing this button. This is the run cell, and that will give you the corresponding result. That means the first thing is that whenever you have to write something in Python, you need not to install anything in Python, right? What you did, you just open your Gmail account and you just open a new tab and search for Google Colab, collaboratory lab, and then that type of things will be coming, and you can write your program there by just clicking. Only the needed thing is net connections, right? Otherwise there is another thing, that is Anaconda Python. Somebody will install that. That is the individual edition of Anaconda Python. And uh, you can download this particular Anaconda Python, and you can run it. I'm not downloading it because that is a download portions and there, and you can just install in a similar way, and you will get this particular view. I am not I thinking I don't have Anaconda in my lab. If it is, I just uninstall is, no, Anaconda is not there. So the thing is that if you want to install, that is also one of the part. Previously when the Google Colab is not there, we are just doing the Python program by Anaconda editions. Either we can use the PyCharm, or either you are using the Jupyter notebook to run the command, whatever be the thing. But today's, that is the beautiful thing, that is Google is given in free editions. So the thing is that we can
স্যার
do.
বলছি যে অনলাইন জিডিবি কম্পাইলার ওটাতেও কি রান করলে ভালো ওই
mm,
পাইথনে?
but better is Google, right?
আচ্ছা
অলওয়েজ বিন বেটার, বিকজ অনলাইন কম্পাইলারে হয়তো তুমি শিখলে, বাট পরবর্তীকালে আমি জানি না, আমার মনে হয় না দা বড় বড় ডেটা সেটের উপর যখন রান করাবে তখন কিন্তু সেটা রান করবে না, বুঝতে পেরেছো? এখানে ইউ নিড
আচ্ছা
নট টু ইনস্টল এনি আদার লাইব্রেরিজ, লাইব্রেরি হ্যাজ অলরেডি বিন ইনকর্পোরেটেড। সো ইট ইজ অলওয়েজ বিন, আই থিঙ্ক অলসো যে মোবাইলে দেয়ার শুড বি অ্যান অ্যাপ যেখানে গুগল কোল্যাবে রান করানো যায়। আই থিঙ্ক সো, তোমরা একটু সার্চ করবে, আই থিঙ্ক গুগল কোল্যাব তোমার মোবাইল অ্যাপ হিসেবেও রান করানো যায়। সো দ্যাট উড বি দ্য বেটার ওয়ে, যদি তোমরা গুগল কোল্যাবে প্রথম থেকে প্র্যাকটিস করো, কারণ ভবিষ্যতের জন্য দ্যাট উড বি ইউজফুল। যেখানে অন্য কোনো অনলাইন কম্পাইলার, আই ডোন্ট নো, বাট ইট মে বি, আই থিঙ্ক দ্যাট দ্যাট উইল নট ওয়ার্ক অ্যাজ faster, or that is not as versatile as Google Colab. Now the thing is that, so that is the process how the Python will work, right? Now we will see that you know that what is Python, and what is the difference between Python and C or all other languages, and what is the difference, why should you use Python, what are the benefit of using Python, and what are the, there, if there are some benefit, and also there are some disadvantages as well as, so what are the disadvantages of Python. So the thing is that let's do the thing, say, so you already know the programming language, that is C. So the thing is that, what the first thing we should notice about C, that the programming language like C, that is concentrating more on the functional aspect of programming, right? That means in C, what we see, that will be concentrate in C, that will concentrate more on the functional aspect, on the, you can say, functional aspect of programming. That means in C you are using different types of functions to run the programs, so that will be concentrating more on the functional aspect of programming, functional aspect of programming. So in this language what will happen, there will be more focus on writing the code using function. So what is the main thing, there will be, there will be more focus, there will be more focus on writing the code, on writing the code using functions. আমরা লিখেছি বিভিন্ন রকম code by using functions, like a, we can imagine a C program as a combination of several functions. Main is itself a function. You are writing some other functions within the main. So the computer scientists thought that the programming will become easy for human being to understand if it is based on the real life examples, because the C will not, in case of real life examples, that will not incorporate that thing. What they incorporate, they are doing some functions, and within the functions we are declare another functions, and like that. But the programmers will understand, that will be better to understand for the people if your concept will be based on the real life example. And since they develop the concept, that is called object oriented language, that will be, that will develop object oriented programming language. And what is object oriented, that will be discussed later, but just you know that that object oriented programming language is based on the, you know, concept of real life examples. And there are lots of object oriented programming language. If you are going for campusing, at least you should know a one procedural approach, that is C, and one is the object oriented approach. Like there are lots of things like Java is there, there is a language that is called .NET, all those stuffs are there. That will be done through the concept, that will be classes and objects, classes and objects, nothing but classes and objects. So the thing is that in that particular case, uh, the classes and objects are the concept where that would be used when we are dealing with the object oriented programming language. Just the thing you should remember, that means object oriented programming language is based on just real life examples. It's based on real life examples. So the thing is that, you know, programmers started migrating from C to Java, and Java soon become the most popular language in the software community day by day. So in Java also, a programmer should express his logic through classes and object only. So it is not possible to write a program without writing at least one class. So in Java also, in Java you can say it is not, it is not possible, it is not possible to, you know, write a program, write a program without without writing at least one class. You have to write at least one class. So the thing is that, what does it mean? Just you want to add two numbers, you have to just add two numbers. Who already knows Javas, because in ISS syllabus I think there should be a Java Blue Jay is there. So whatever, if you don't know about Java, you just forget about the code. The main thing that we should understand, that means if we just want to add two number in in case of Java, you have to just declare a class like class add, and then you have to write such a code like a public static, you know, void main, and then within the bracket string args, like that. This is the writing for the starting executions. And then you have to write, say, integer a and b, this is the two variable. Say I am just giving two numbers, 10 will be initialized, and then you have to write system dot out dot, you know, print ln, and then you can write like that, sum equals to, you know, a plus b, that is the display the sum. So when you have to add two number, you have to write that amount of that amount of code for just doing, you know, just adding two numbers. So it is not possible to write a program without writing, you know, without writing at least one class, at least one class. And also, and programmers understood that in certain cases where there is no need to go for classes or objects, this type of coding is consuming more times, right? That means it may be the possible that we are not always been go through the classes or object. So in that case, when you just add two numbers, whether we should write that amount of code. And in such cases, you know, they do not want to create classes and objects, rather that they want to write C style coding. And if the same program, you know about the C coding, that if you use the same program, if you can write in the C language, that is also written like that. You have to declare this stdio.h, and say you have to write integer main or void main, or any just a simple main. You have to declare two variables. Say the two variables are declared with, you have to store 10 in a and b. And what will happen, you just write the printf statement, and you just write sum equals to percent %d. You are just printing a plus b, and that will be displaying the corresponding results, right? So the thing is that also in C, it is also same as the Java, then amount of code you have to write. So there is no improvement in the length of the code. And another problem is that if the programmers go for C language, they will miss the object orientations, which is lacking in C. And object orientation become an advantage when they want to deal with heavy project. So nowadays, programmer want C style coding as well as that Java style object orientations. So they want to develop the functional aspect like calculations or processing, and they want to use C style coding when they are in need of going for no need of going for classes and objects. And when they need for classes and object for heavy project, they also want the Java style coding. So that's the only answer for this requirement is Python. In case of Python, that you can write the code as well as in C type and as well as by using Java type. That means they can as well as use the procedural approach, as well as they can use the object oriented RAM. So the thing is that what you can think about the Python, this particular Python is a, you can say, programming language. That is a programming language that combines, that actually combines the features of, actually the combines the features of C and Java. You can think of that. So it offers actually the elegant style of developing program like C. And when the programmer want to go for object orientation, Python offers classes and object like Java. So the thing is that if I go to the corresponding code sections, you will see I am just writing a simple code to add two numbers. If we want to add two numbers, what you have to write, just a equals to b equals to 10, and then I'm giving enter, and then I just want to print that. That means I just want to print that thing. That means sum equals to, you can say, I just want to print a plus b. That's all. That means you can see if we run this, that will give you sum equals to 20. That means in python you need not to write anything like that. In C, what we see, you have to write at least has include stdio.h, you have to write the main functions, you have to declare the integers variables, then you can add. In Java also you have to create at least one class, and then public static void main, all those stuffs are you have to write to add two numbers. Whereas in case of Python, I'm just writing a simple code like that. And of course you see that this particular code is very easy to understand and develop, and Python is gaining popularity among the programmers, right? And there are several other features of Python which we will discuss in future, which make it be a preferred choice of most programmer. But the thing is that you will understand why the simple code I am writing in C, I am writing in you know in Java and as well as Python. Python is much simpler. The first thing you should observe, I am not giving any data type. That means in C or Java, you will see you have to declare either integer or float or whatever be the data type. In that particular case, I am not giving anything to the compiler that whether this A and B are integer type of data or it can be some other kind of data. I am not giving anything to the this particular thing. So that is the thing, you can say, the simplicity of the Python. And on the complexity analysis, time taking, that are all the parameter that is also giving some disadvantage of the Python, but that will be discussed later. First you understand why we need Python. The first thing is that what we see, that we need not to declare any type of classes. If we object oriented approach, we are using object oriented. In case of procedural approach, I have to in C, I have to add some header file, I have to add main and all those stuffs you should add before doing something. But in case of Python, I don't have to do anything. I'm not bothered that what should be the data type, right? The itself the Python compiler or interpreter, whatever we will discuss it later, the thing is that that will uh, detect the corresponding data type. So that is the thing you should understand. Now the thing is that if we just go about the little bit of history like that, you know C that will be developed in the Bell laboratory, right? And of course the main books of C is Dennis Ritchie. He developed, but before development there is a B language and all other languages are there, and that will be modified and then it comes like a C, and that will be discovered in the Bell laboratories. But the thing is that if we are talking about the Python, this Python actually that was developed, that was developed by developed by the that is Guido van actually Rossum, and that will be developed in the year that is very long, 1991, right? At the center of there are the that would be, there is a Dutch government something project, actually in that particular project actually the Python was developed by this particular scientist Roshan in the year 1991. That is a long ago. And actually this particular scientist Van Rossum was working on a project actually that will be interactions between the unique cell, and that's why they felt necessary of developing a language that will fill the gap between C and the unique cell programming, and that will uh, actually the reason for developing Python. But the thing is that that particular name Python, that is not actually suggested by the name of the scientist. Actually uh, when the Van Rossum actually they speak the name Python for the new language from the TV show. There is a very popular TV show at that time, that is a Monty Python.
Python was developed in the year 1991 or 1994.
1991, right? First
Oh,
it
it
was
was.
going on like that. So there is a
Okay.
Python's
Yes, August.
Monty Python's flying circus. There is a show that is going on the TV, uh, that the first working version of the Python is ready early 90s, 1990. This is the first versions of the Python, you can say. The first version, that is not commercial versions, that is the first working versions, first working version of Python. And Van Rossum actually released it for the public specifically on the 28th February, specifically on the 28th February 1991. And the logo of the Python shows two intertwined snakes, that is the official logo of the Python. And if you see the logo of Python, that will be, that would be the two snake, if any, like that. This is the official logo of the Python. And the thing is that, but that will be actually not the name of the scientist, that actually Monty Python flying circus, that is the show that was going on, that will be the name will be taken from that. And of course, Python is a open source software, right? Python is an open source. That is the main advantage. Python, that is a open source, that is a open source software. What do you mean by open source? That means anybody can freely, you know download, anybody can freely download it from, there is an website, this is www.python, .org, that is the corresponding website, and use it to develop program. And its source code is also can be accessed and modified as requires in the project. That's why that is you know the thing of the Python. This is the open source software. And if you see about what are the different features, what are the different features of Python, the first thing is that simple. The first thing you can say about the simple. And of course you see that when you read a Python program, we feel like reading English sentences. That means, of course, it means that more clarity and less stress on understanding the syntax of the language, because nowadays the job is interdisciplinary. That means it is not necessary that the in TCS or CTS or whatever be the company, the students are coming from different background, not from CS and IT always. So that's why it is very if the code will be much more complicated, then that will be very much problematic for themselves. So the Python code is easier to understand. That is just like a simple English sentences. And of course that is easy to learn. That is easy to learn. Easy to learn. That means that is very few keywords. That means its programs are very simple structure. So developing programs in Python become easy. And also Python resembles C language. So most of the language construct in C are also available in Python. So migrating from C to Python is easy for the programmers. Very easy for the programmers migrating from C to Python. Third thing is that what we already been discussed, that is open source. That is the main thing. That means open source means you can, there is no need to pay for Python software, right? Because there are also some software that is good in like a MATLAB or something else. MATLAB, that is the software, that is a very good software, but as well as it is very much costly. We can use the pirated versions, but the thing is that in case of pirated version you cannot learn all the modules of the deep learning or all other things. Since it is Python is the open source, so everybody is preferable. And because the source code can be read, modified, and can be used in program as desired by the programmer. And of course that is called high level language. That is high level language. So the concept is uh, uh, programming language are two type: low level, high level, and there is also some mid level languages. The low level languages are machine codes. You already know machine codes means zero ones and like that. There are assembly level language also. But the thing is that these instructions are directly interact with the CPU, right? Machine level language can directly interact with the CPU. Since you are going through the computer organizations, you should know that. And machine language and assembly language are called, that is the low level language. And high level language use English words to develop program. These are easy to learn, like there is a COBOL, PHP, Python, that are uses English words in its program, and this is called high level language. That is dynamically typed. Dynamically typed. Dynamically typed. So what is the meaning of dynamically typed? So in Python we need not declare anything, right? I am not declaring the data type of the variables, right? So we need not declare anything. So an assignment statement binds a name to an object. You should don't know about the object concept, but still you just heard the name, that an assignment statement that will actually bind a name to an object, and the object can be of any type. Like if a name is assigned to an object of one type, it may be assigned to an object of a different type. That means আমরা যদি একটা অবজেক্টকে একটা কিছু দিয়ে বাইন্ড করি, পরবর্তীকালে সেটাকেই অন্যভাবে আমি ইউজ করাতে পারবো। তার মানে যে Python is dynamically typed language. Like that in C and Java, this is a strictly type. That means the variable's name, data type, that should be properly mentioned. But in, and if you want to attempt to assign an object of wrong type to a variable, that will give an error. But in case of Python, that will not happen. That means it is dynamically typed. And the thing is that that is platform, that is, platform independent, that is platform independent. And the thing is that you face the thing in case of C, that some of your programmers write the code in turbo C, and they are using conio.h, they are using some other thing. Whether when you run a program and this particular code is be sent to your friend's computer, and friend is running the same C code by using GCC compiler, then what will happen, that particular code which is running in the turbo C compiler, that will not run in GCC compiler, the same C code, right? Because GCC compiler cannot support the corresponding conio.h or getch some type of command. So that means that is not platform independent. C is platform dependent. That means if you run a code in your computer and you are sending the same code into another computer, that will may not run, right? They may or may not run. But in case of Python, that is, you know uh, when a Python program, what I am saying, that when a python program when a Python program is compiled, Python program is compiled using a Python compiler, Python compiler, it generates bytecode. It generates, there is a concept that is called bytecode. That will also the same concept in case of Java. So Python bytecode, what is bytecode? This particular Python's, this bytecode represent, that Python bytecode represent a fixed set of instructions, fixed set of instructions that run on, that run on all operating system and hardware. That means Python will generate this particular bytecode, and this bytecode will run on several you know operating system and hardware. And there is a, using a Python virtual machine, there is a concept which is called Python virtual machine, or called PVM. In Java there is a Java virtual machine, in Python is a Python virtual machine. Anybody anybody can run this particular bytecode instructions, bytecode instruction on any computer system, in any computer system. So there is Python virtual machines, and by using this Python virtual machines, anybody can run these bytecode instructions on any computer system. So Python programs are not dependent on any specific operating system. We can use Python on almost all operating systems like Unix, Linux, Windows, Mac, Macintosh, everything. There are lots of operating systems. You can run Python in any operating system. This makes Python an ideal programming language for any network or internet. So the thing is that There is the bytecode, we will discuss this later in a details way, but still now for the first class you just know that Python is a platform independent language. And what is the reason behind that? Because Python will generate bytecode, and bytecode is running in any machines independent of the operating system as well as hardware configurations. So that's why this is called a platform independent. And the next thing you can say, that is called portable. That is called portable. What do you mean by portable? That means when a program yields the same result on any computer in the world, then it is called a portable program. That means the program that will give same results on any computer in the world. That means it will not vary, right? I am taking a Python program, I am and going to another computer, and I will run the same code, and that will give you different results. That will not happen. So the thing is that that is makes the portability. And of course, since Python programs will have the same results since they are platform independent, so once a Python program is written, it can run on any computer system using Python virtual machine. So that means Python also contains some system independent module which are specific to operating system. That will correct. That means Python also contains, but the programmer should be careful about such code depending on the software. There are some, there are some particular module which should be used in particular computer, but that is the different part, that is the special purpose. But thing is that in that case, what we can say, that is portable. That means when you write a code, you can go to the another, you can go to the another computer system and you will just run the program, and that will give you the same results. So the thing is that, and there is also another, you know that is called advantage, that is called procedure, and as well as object oriented. Object oriented. So procedural and object oriented means, Python is a procedural oriented as well as object oriented programming language. What I am specifically written, as well as procedure means that like a C language, object oriented means like a Java language. So Python is a procedural oriented as well as object oriented programming language. Like that, in procedural oriented programming language like C and Pascal, the programs are built using functions and procedure, but in object oriented language the programs are use classes and object. And the basic thing, if you think about an object is anything that exists physically in the real world. Like an what I'm talking about an object, you can just see an object is anything that exist exist physically, physically in the real world, in the real world. So almost everything comes in another definition. Let's take a dog, right? Let's take a dog with the name, say something, Ram, Snoopy. Okay, that should be better, no confusions. If I take some other language, it makes created. So say Snoopy is an name of the dog. You know, uh, it is the name of the dog. So what I am saying, that which next Snoopy is an object because it physically exists in our house. That is an object. Why? Because that is an object that, why this is an object? Because that exists physically. That physically exist, you know physically, exist in our house, that physically exist in our house. So objects will have behavior represented by their attributes and actions. Like that, Snoopy has an attributes like height, weight, age, color, and these particular attributes are represented by a variable in the programming. And Snoopy can perform actions like barking, biting, eating, running, etc. That particular actions are represented by method in programming. So that means an object that will contain variables and method. So what I'm talking about, that in our house there is a dog, the name of the dog is Snoopy. So Snoopy is an, the definition of the object is anything that exists physically in the real world. That means Snoopy actually a dog which exists physically in the real world. That means that is an object. So Snoopy has some attributes. What are the different attributes? That attributes you can say, or properties you can say, like a height, weight, age, color, or maybe other than that, that are the basic attributes of this particular dog which named is Snoopy. And they had some actions, like they can bark, they can bite, the Snoopy can eat or run. So that are the corresponding attributes that are called nothing but the methods in programming. So that means an object that will contain variables or attributes and as well as method. So what is class? The class actually does not exist physically. You can say that class does not does not exist physically, does not exist physically physically. A class has only an abstract idea, represent common behavior of several objects. What we can say, a class is only an abstract, only an abstract idea which actually represent, which actually represent common common behavior, common behavior of, several object, common behavior of several objects. Like you can say dog is a class. So when you are talking about a dog, we will have a picture in our mind. We imagine a head, a body, a legs, a tails, etc. These imaginary pictures, the imaginary pictures that we call a class. But when we take Snoopy, that she has all the features that we have in our mind, but she exists physically. Hence, she become the object of dog class. She has an object of dog class. Similarly, you can all other dogs like Tommy, Charlie, Sophia, etc., etc., etc. That are the objects of dog class. And that attributes you can take, that attributes are different for different dogs, right? So the thing is, this dogs is a class, and this Snoopy is an object of the class dog. Like you can also take an examples like car. If we talk about the car, this car is a class that is not exist physically, right? That means car has some attribute. It should have some color, it should have some tire, engines, all those stuffs are there. And it can horn, it can run, it has some speed. So these are the corresponding methods of the class. But when you talk about the particular car, that be BMW some series or Suzuki some series, then that would be the particular object, because that will exist physically. That is the basic difference between class and object, right? We will discuss it later, but at least you should have some basic idea. At least you should have some basic idea. So similarly, you can say sparrow, pigeon, crow, that all are the object of the bird class. So we should understand that bird is the and only an idea that defines some attributes and actions. And a parrot and a sparrow, say, have the same attributes and actions, but they exist physically. So they are the object of the bird class. So object oriented language like Python, Java, .NET, that uses the concept of classes and object in their program. And you know that since the class does not exist physically, so there will not be any memory allocated when the class is created, but when the object exists physically, and hence a separate block of memory is allocated when an object is created, like a structure. You just think about the structure. When we dealing with the when you just write the structures, I am not declare any type of structure. I am just creating a particular, what I am saying, that structure is nothing but the class, it's behaving like a class. Because when you just write a structures, until and unless you are giving some particular value, then the memory will not be allocated. So in that case also, that means in that particular case also, that class, this class that does not, exist physically, and actually there will not be any any memory allocated when the, class is created. But, you know object object exist, you know physically, and hence a separate separate block of memory is allocated when an object is created. So in Python language, everything like variable, list, functions, arrays also are treated as an object. Everything are treated as an object. So you can see there are something, you can say about the interpreted. What do you mean by interpreted? This is also, the property of the, object oriented, because I am just 8 number property, that is procedural and object oriented, and you can say this is a 9 number of property. Yes, you can bolo.
স্যার বলছি ক্লাসটা বললেন যে যেটা রিপ্রেজেন্ট করে কমন বিহেভিয়ার অফ সেভারাল অবজেক্টস, হ্যাঁ, আর
একদম
অবজেক্টের যে অ্যাট্রিবিউট গুলো আছে সেগুলো তো রিয়েল ওয়ার্ল্ডে এক্সিস্ট করে,
একদম
আর সেগুলোর কমন যে বিহেভিয়ার সেটা বলছে আমরা ক্লাস। তাহলে ক্লাসটাও কি মানে রিয়েল ওয়ার্ল্ডে এক্সিস্ট করবে না তাহলে?
রিয়েল ওয়ার্ল্ডে এক্সিস্ট। তুমি ভাবো ডগ, রাইট? দেখো ডগ তো একটা, তুমি কোন ডগ বলছো? যতক্ষণ না তুমি,
না স্যার আপনি যতটুকু বলেছেন আমি পুরোটা বুঝতে পেরেছি, কিন্তু আমি যদি এই লাইনটা নিয়ে একটু ডিপলি হওয়ার চেষ্টা করি, তাই আমি বলছিলাম যে এই অনেকগুলো অবজেক্টের কমন একটা প্রপার্টি, সেটা আমরা ক্লাস বলছি।
একদম।
আমরা যদি হিউম্যান একটা ক্লাস ধরি, তাহলে চোখ আছে, নাক আছে, মুখ আছে, হাত আছে, পা আছে, এইগুলো নিয়ে আমরা একটা ক্লাস বলছি, তাই তো?
একদম।
তাহলে এই জিনিসগুলো তো আমি বলছি যে রিয়েল ওয়ার্ল্ডে এক্সিস্ট করে।
কি করে এক্সিস্ট করে? হিউম্যান বলে তো একটা জিনিস এক্সিস্ট করে।
না আমি বলছি স্যার এই হাত পা গুলো, মানে
হ্যাঁ, হাত পা গুলো রিয়েল ওয়ার্ল্ডে, একদম,
এই যে অ্যাট্রিবিউট গুলো নিয়েছি সেগুলো তো রিয়েল ওয়ার্ল্ডে এক্সিস্ট করে, তাই বলছি।
সেটা নিয়ে কোনো আপত্তি নেই আমার, কিন্তু এই যে ক্লাসটা বলছো, হিউম্যান ক্লাসটা, যতক্ষণ না পার্টিকুলার আমি বলছি যে তুমি বা আমি, ততক্ষণ পর্যন্ত সে ফিজিক্যালি এক্সিস্ট করছে না। যতক্ষণ না পর্যন্ত তাকে পার্টিকুলার নাম দিচ্ছি, ততক্ষণ পর্যন্ত তার কোনো ফিজিক্যাল এক্সিস্টেন্স নেই, তাই তো? আমি হিউম্যান বলছি, হিউম্যানটা আছে আমি জানি, কিন্তু যতক্ষণ আমি পার্টিকুলার নাম বলছি, ততক্ষণ পর্যন্ত সে যে আছে কি নেই সেটা তো আমি বুঝতে পারছি না।
একজনকে স্পেসিফিক করে যতক্ষণ না বলবো,
একদম স্পেসিফিক যখন না করছি, ততক্ষণ তো তার এক্সিস্টেন্স নেই। সে হিউম্যান তো লক্ষ লক্ষ বছর ধরে আছে, রাইট? তাদের তো এই প্রপার্টি গুলো আছে, কিন্তু যত সে ফিজিক্যালি আছে কি নেই সেটা আমি কি করে বুঝবো যদি না পার্টিকুলার নাম দিই তাকে, রাইট? নাম যখন দিচ্ছি তখন তাকে অবজেক্ট বলছি। যেমন স্ট্রাকচার তুমি করেছিলে, একটা স্টুডেন্ট, তাই তো? তার নেম আছে, রোল নাম্বার আছে, তার মার্কস আছে, এটা তো আমি একটা স্ট্রাকচার তৈরি করছি, কিন্তু যতক্ষণ না স্টুডেন্টটাকে অ্যালোকেট করছি, ততক্ষণ তো মেমোরি অ্যালোকেশনের জায়গা নেই।
ঠিক এখানেও সেরকম ক্লাসটা এরকম হচ্ছে, মেমোরিটা নিচ্ছে না। কিন্তু স্যার মেমোরি নিচ্ছে না, ঠিক আছে, কিন্তু আমরা পরে যখন ওইটাকে স্পেসিফিক করছি তখন ওটা অবজেক্ট হচ্ছে, তখন মেমোরি নেবে। কিন্তু ও কোথায় পাবে ওই জিনিসগুলো, ওই ক্লাসের ওই জিনিসগুলো? ও তো
ক্লাসটাকে তো, অবজেক্টটাকে যখন ক্রিয়েট করছি, আমি কি বলছি, that Sophia is a particular object of this particular class, তার মানে ওই ক্লাস থেকে বাকি জিনিসগুলোকে নিচ্ছে, তারপরে মেমোরিটা অ্যালোকেট।
আমরা বলছি যে যখন আমরা ক্লাসটা নিচ্ছি সেটা তো মেমোরিতে কোনো জায়গা নিচ্ছে না, রাখছি কোথায় অ্যাকচুয়ালি, আমরা তাই বলছি।
না আমি তো প্রোগ্রামিং, আমি তো ক্লাসটাকে শুধু রেখে তো আমার কোনো কাজ হবে না, আমাকে তো অবজেক্ট ডিফাইন করতেই হবে। যখন তুমি অবজেক্ট লিখছো, হ্যাঁ, তো তুমি ক্লাসটা তো প্রোগ্রামিং এ লিখছো, তার জন্য তো মেমোরি অ্যালোকেশনের দরকার নেই। তুমি যখনই অবজেক্ট ক্রিয়েট করছো, ও তখনই মেমোরিটা অ্যালোকেট করছে। এবং কোনো একটা প্রোগ্রামকে তুমি যখন রান করাও তখন কোথায় রান করা, তাকে তো র্যামে লোড করে রান করা, রাইট?
হ্যাঁ
তখন ও র্যামে ততক্ষণ আছে, অসুবিধা কি আছে? প্রোগ্রামটার
হ্যাঁ,
সাইজটা
ঠিক
না।
আছে ঠিক আছে ঠিক আছে হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ, ঠিক আছে ঠিক আছে।
Now the thing is that interpreted. So what does that mean? We know a program code is called source code. We know a program code is called, this is called a source code, right? And the thing is that, so after writing a Python program, we should compile the source code using Python compiler. So the Python compiler translate the Python program into an intermediate code that is called bytecode, and this bytecode is then executed by Python virtual machine. So inside the Python virtual machine, a interpreter that will convert the bytecode instructions into machine code, so that the processor will understand and run that machine's code to produce result. What I am saying, just I am writing there what I am saying. So you are just writing a Python code, okay? So when you writing a Python code, so after writing a Python program, after writing a Python program, what will happen? You should compile it, you should compile that, the source code, compile the particular source code using Python compiler, using Python compiler, and Python compiler translate this Python compiler that actually translate, what will happen, translate the this Python program into an intermediate, code, and that is called bytecode, that is called bytecode. And this bytecode, this particular bytecode then is then executed, by PVM. PVM means Python virtual machine, Python virtual machine. And inside the PVM, inside the Python virtual machine, an interpreter, an interpreter actually converts the bytecode, bytecode bytecode instructions into machine code, so that the processor will understand the thing, so that the processor will understand, will understand and run that particular machine code to produce results. That is the interpreted mean. And the next you can say about extensible. Extensible, what do you mean by extensible? That means the program, or you can say the pieces of the code which is written in C or C++ can be integrated into Python and executed using Python virtual machine. And that is why what we see in standard Python. Do you know there are flavor of Python where the programs from other language can be integrated into Python, like a Jython. There is a different types of modification of Python, like a Jython. Jython is useful to integrate Java program. That is useful to, you can say, integrate Java program, integrate Java program into Python program, into Python you know programs, and run on Java virtual machine. Java virtual machine. There are lots of things like a Iron Python. This is a modification of Python. In Iron Python, you can say, is useful to integrate .NET programs. Is useful to integrate .NET. There is another language. this is a .NET. So there are lots of things. And also another property that is called embeddable. Embeddable, that can be done in Python. That means we can insert Python program into C or C++ program. That is also useful. We can actually insert these Python programs into a C or C++ program, and there are several applications, developed in Python, which can be integrated to other programming language like C or C++, PHP, Java, .NET. What does it mean? That means programmer can use this application for their advantage in various software, project. They can use that. That means they can insert, but we are not using generally, but in big project where some of the course is already been written in C and C++, and the new developer they are coming, they are using the code by using Python, so can take the C or C++ code and they can integrate with the Python. That is the advantage. That means already a big project is going on, some of the project is already been written in different languages, and now you are familiar with Python, then you can write your program in Python, you can embed it the C code that is already been written. That is the usefulness of the one of the usefulness of the Python. And the thing is that you can say that a huge library, that is huge library, that is the basic thing of Python. That is a big library which can be used on any operating system, and programmers can develop programs very easily using these modules available in the Python library. This is a huge library, we will come in this later. And Python is also called, this is, you can say, scripting language. That is also called scripting language. Now you should know what do you mean by scripting language, then you will understand. A scripting language is a programming language that does not use a compiler for executing the source code. That actually scripting language, is a programming language. That is a, programming language that does not use a compiler, compiler for executing a source code, executing a source code. So if we use an interpreter to translate the source code into machine code on fly means while running, that means automatically there is an interpreter which automatically translates the source code into machine code when it is running. Generally, there are lots of scripting language that is perform supporting tasks in a big application or software, like a PHP. PHP, that is you are using for developing the websites or something. That is also scripting language. Why this is scripting language? Because you need not to install any compiler, right? And there is also some HTML pages, you can also run the HTML code in browser. So Python can be also used as an scripting language. If you want to use as a scripting language, you can use the Python. That means you
স্যার একটা কোয়েশ্চেন ছিল এখানে।
বলো।
হ্যাঁ স্যার, আপনি ইন্টারপ্রেটেডের ওখানে বলেছিলেন, মানে পাইথন কম্পাইলার দিয়ে আগে সোর্স কোডটাকে বাইট কোডে কনভার্ট করবে, তা সেই কম্পাইলিংটা যদি না হয় তাহলে কি করে হবে?
না, স্ক্রিপ্টিং ল্যাঙ্গুয়েজ হিসেবে ইউজ করতে গেলে তোমায় আলাদাভাবে কাজ করাতে হবে। তুমি ইউজ করতে পারো, বুঝতে পেরেছো?
আচ্ছা,
ইউজ করতে পারো। পাইথন ইজ কনসিডার্ড অ্যাজ এন স্ক্রিপ্টিং ল্যাঙ্গুয়েজ অ্যাজ ইট ইজ,
মানে এটা ওর একটা আলাদা ফিচার যেটা আমাকে
যেটা তুমি করতে পারো, একদম। বুঝতে পেরেছো? মানে তুমি নর্মাল ভাবে পাইথনকে করলে হবে না, বাট পাইথনকে স্ক্রিপ্টিং ল্যাঙ্গুয়েজ হিসেবেও তুমি ইউজ করাতে পারো, বিকজ it is interpreted, right? And it used on the internet to support other softwares.
আচ্ছা,
সেই কারণ। সো
তাহলে পিএইচপি জায়গায় পাইথন ব্যবহার করা যাবে তো, মানে
করে, বাট অফ কোর্স পিএইচপির ফিচার্স গুলো অনেক একটু বেশি, কারণ ওটা তো স্পেশালি ডেভেলপ ফর দ্য, তাই জন্য কি হয়, পিএইচপি আমরা সাধারণত এইচটিএমএল ইউজ করি, কারণ ওখানে আলাদা অনেক ফিচার্স আছে দ্যাট ইজ ভেরি হ্যান্ডফুল ফর ওয়েব ডিজাইনিং। অ্যাকচুয়ালি এটা ডিপেন্ড করছে কি বলতো, কোনো একটা ল্যাঙ্গুয়েজ যখন শুরু হয় তখন তার ইউজফুলনেসের উপর ডিপেন্ড করে তার ডেভেলপমেন্টটা হয়। লাইক পাইথনের যত না স্ক্রিপ্টিং ল্যাঙ্গুয়েজ হিসেবে ইউজ হয়, বেশি করে মেশিন লার্নিং, ডিপ লার্নিং, ডেটা সায়েন্স এইগুলোতে এত বেড়ে গেছে যে ওই দিকের গুলো দেখো তোমার ডেভেলপমেন্ট হতে 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 অনেক মডিউল দিনের পর দিন অ্যাড হচ্ছে, প্রত্যেক দিনই হয়তো কিছু না কিছু অ্যাড হচ্ছে। বুঝতে পেরেছো? মানে স্ক্রিপ্টিং ল্যাঙ্গুয়েজের দিকে আমরা তো তাকাই না, বাট এটা যদি তোমায় কোশ্চেন্স করা হয়, হ্যাঁ ওয়েদার দ্য পাইথন ক্যান বি ট্রিটেড অ্যাজ এ স্ক্রিপ্টিং ল্যাঙ্গুয়েজ, যেন তুমি বলতে পারো হ্যাঁ দ্যাট ক্যান অলসো বি ইউজড অ্যাজ এ স্ক্রিপ্টিং ল্যাঙ্গুয়েজ। কারণ এটা জিজ্ঞেস করে বিভিন্ন জায়গায় বা বিভিন্ন তোমাদের ইন্টারভিউতে যখন ফেস করবে তখন জিজ্ঞেস করে। তাই এটা মাথায় জাস্ট রাখো যে স্ক্রিপ্টিং ল্যাঙ্গুয়েজ হিসেবেও পাইথনকে আমরা ইউজ করতে পারি। নাও দ্য থিং ইজ দ্যাট ডেটাবেস কানেক্টিভিটি। বলো।
আমরা সি প্রোগ্রাম রান করার সময় কম্পাইলার ইউজ করতাম, তা হোল প্রোগ্রামটা আগে অ্যানালাইজ করে তারপরে পুরোটা ইনস্ট্রাকশন মানে রান করা আরম্ভ করতে, তাই তো? আর এখানে আপনি এখানে বলছেন যে ইন্টারপ্রিট করে।
ইন্টারপ্রেট মানে লাইন বাই লাইন কাজ করে, রাইট?
হ্যাঁ সেটাই বলছি, এখানে তাহলে লাইন বাই লাইন এক্সিকিউট হয়, তাই তো?
একদম।
তাহলে
এখানে তো স্যার দুটোই হয়, প্রথমে কম্পাইলিং হয়,
প্রথমে
তারপরে
কম্পাইলিং হবে,
তাই
বাইট।
বলছি যে তাহলে কম্পাইলার কেন ইউজ করছি তাই জিজ্ঞেস করছি।
ওই যে বললাম যে
তো বাইট কোডে কনভার্ট করবে।
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ ঠিক আছে, এবার ঠিক আছে।
বুঝতে পেরেছো? বাইট কোডে কনভার্ট না করলে ওটাকে প্ল্যাটফর্ম ডিপেন্ডেন্সিটাকে কাটানো যাচ্ছে না ইন্ডিপেন্ডেন্ট করার জন্য। এবার বাইট কোডে যেই কনভার্ট করলে ও কি হলো, প্ল্যাটফর্ম ইন্ডিপেন্ডেন্ট হয়ে গেল। বুঝতে পেরেছো? তাই এখানে দুটো কাজই হচ্ছে। What do you So what do you mean by database connectivity? Database actually represents software, that will be stored, manipulates data. Like, because that Oracle is a popular database that can be used to store data in the forms of tables and manipulate the data. Python provides that interface to connect its program to all major databases. That means, this Python actually provides that will provide interfaces to connect its programs to all major databases. That is one of the important purpose. If you are not connecting the database with the corresponding language, then that will create a huge problem, Sybase or MySQL, and there are all some non-structured database like MongoDB and all those stuffs are already been there. You can connect Python like that. ধরো তুমি একটা ATM এ গিয়ে তুমি যদি একটা ট্রানজাকশনস করো, then what will happen? তার মানে ATM এ যখন তুমি ATM ধরো এই যে করসপন্ডিং প্রোগ্রামটা আমি ধরে নিলাম পাইথনে তুমি বানিয়েছো। এবারে ডেটাবেস কানেক্টিভিটির ইম্পর্টেন্ট কোথায়? তুমি ধরো একটা এটিএম পিন দেখছো, এটিএম পিনটা কোথায় দেখছো? তুমি ধরো ব্যাংক অফ ইন্ডিয়ার আমি ধরলাম একটা এটিএম কাউন্টারে গিয়ে তুমি কার্ডটা ঢোকাচ্ছ, কার্ডটা তোমার কার্ড, এসবিআই এর কার্ড, রাইট? তো তোমার তো নিশ্চয়ই মনে হয় না যে এসবিআই উইল প্রোভাইড দ্য ব্যাংক অফ ইন্ডিয়া অল দ্য ইনফরমেশন অফ এসবিআই's কাস্টমার। তাহলে তো ব্যাংক অফ ইন্ডিয়া ইনফ্লুয়েন্স করবে সেই কাস্টমার যদি মানি অনেক বেশি হয়। সো হোয়াট উইল হ্যাপেন, তুমি যখনই কার্ডটা ঢোকালে তার মানে কি হলো, পিনটা দিলে, তাহলে পিনটা দেওয়ার সাথে সাথে ব্যাংক অফ ইন্ডিয়া নিশ্চয়ই একটা ইনিশিয়েশন পাঠাবে এসবিআই কে, কিসের জন্য? যে এ টাকাটা তুলতে চাই, সাফিসিয়েন্ট ব্যালেন্স আছে কিনা। তাহলে এই যে করসপন্ডিং মেনটেনেন্স, ব্যালেন্স কত আছে বা কি আছে, সেটা নিশ্চয়ই একটা ডেটাবেসে কানেক্ট সেভ থাকবে সবসময়। তাহলে সেই ডেটাবেসের কানেক্টিভিটিটা যদি পাইথন না থাকে তাহলে তো এই কাজটা হবে। তাহলে প্রথমে যখন এটিএম এ তুমি ঢোকালে তখন কি হবে, এটিএম একটা ইনস্ট্রাকশন পাঠালো কোথায়, এসবিআই কাউন্টারে। এসবিআই কিন্তু কত ব্যালেন্স আছে না ব্যালেন্স আছে সেটা বলবে না, শুধু বলবে হ্যাঁ ওয়েদার দ্য অ্যাভেলেবল ব্যালেন্স ইজ দেয়ার আর নট। ও কি করবে, অ্যাভেলেবল ব্যালেন্স যদি থাকে তাহলে সেটা কি করে করছে, ডেটাবেসে সার্চ করছে, সার্চ করে তোমার পিন নাম্বার, তোমার অ্যাকাউন্ট নাম্বার, তোমার কার্ড নাম্বারের করসপন্ডিং ডিটেলসটা বার করছে এসবিআই তারপরে দেখছে, চেক করছে ডেটাবেসটাই যে ওয়েদার অ্যাভেলেবল ব্যালেন্স আছে কিনা। যদি অ্যাভেলেবল ব্যালেন্স থাকে তাহলে একটা ইনস্ট্রাকশনস পাঠাবে ব্যাংক বিওআই কে যে হ্যাঁ অ্যাভেলেবল ব্যালেন্স আছে, তুমি টাকা ট্রানজাকশনস করতে দাও, তখন ব্যাংক অফ ইন্ডিয়া টাকা ট্রানজাকশনস করতে দেবে। তার মানে এখানে তুমি যদি বাইরের ইন্টারফেসটা পাইথন দিয়ে বানাও তাহলে অফকোর্স দেয়ার শুড বি কানেক্টিভিটি উইথ সাম ডেটাবেস, whatever that be the database. It may be Oracle, or it may be MySQL, or it may be some MongoDB, whatever be the thing. But the thing is that you should connect with the database. So that is the database connectivity. Now the thing is that, like, you can say about the scalable, that is important part, that is scalable. What do you mean by scalable? That means a program that would be scalable if it could be moved to another operating system or hardware and take the full advantage of the new environment in terms of performance. So scalable means, that would be the term, that means a program that would be scalable if it could be it could be moved to another operating system or hardware and take full advantage and full advantage take full advantage of the new environment of the new environment in terms of performance. Another thing, the last thing, you can say batteries. There are some batteries that should be included. That means the Python has a huge library and there are several applications you can do by using Python. And then to the programmer actually have to, in case of if you are using Anaconda Python or something else, there are some library that is already been given and some library you have to download it for the particular purposes. And the thing is that in Google Colab, what are the normal libraries that is already been included in your Google Colab? The thing is like whether you know or not, there is a library that is called Boto. That is a thing which is used in industry, that is called Amazon Web Service or AWS. When you have to use this AWS, then you have to include this particular library, like Boto is a particular library. Like there is a library that is called cryptography. That particular library you have to include if you work with the cryptographic technique. Like a Fiona, that is the particular library that you have to include if you read and like big data files, if you want to read and write big data. There is a big data, that means when we are dealing with the huge amount of data, that particular concept is big data. Like there are some computing environment, Hadoop, all those stuffs are there for handling the big data. So Fiona is a Python library that you have to include. Like you know there is NumPy. NumPy is a library that you should, I'm trying to see that how the NumPy is being used. That is a package, that is a very useful package. Almost everybody is using this package for processing, for processing arrays of single or multi-dimensional or multi-dimensional type. That is the NumPy. There is a packet like that. When you are dealing with the machine learning project, you have to know that how to handle the NumPy package. And there is also some package which is known as pandas. That is also powerful packet, powerful data structure. Since you are doing with the data structure, you can run pandas. That means powerful data structures. That is powerful data structure for data analysis, data analysis, time series, time series, and statistics and statistics. That is the pandas. So there are lots of, I am not going something, at least you should know some libraries, like name of the library actually SciPy, and that is a scientific library. For that are the useful packages that you should use when you are dealing with some project with the machine learning, data science, all those stuffs, because that are the most useful thing that is happening with the Python. So that is also useful to do some scientific do some scientific and engineering engineering, you know, engineering calculations. So these are the different types of library that is used in different things.
স্যার এই ম্যাটপ্লট এলআইবি এইগুলো
matplotlib
কি এই
হ্যাঁ, this is
নামপাই এগুলোতে থাকে
না,
নাকি এটা আলাদা?
এটা আলাদা প্যাকেজ। That is the matplotlib, seaborn package, that all are the different. Matplotlib is for plotting the graph. Seaborn is used for, you know, plotting the graph more efficiently, right? But that is not included in numpy, pandas and scipy. Okay, that is the different packages. Matplotlib. So the thing is that, so I think that particular part is clear. Up to that, whatever be the thing that we write there, and the thing is that there are something you can see. I already mentioned, if we say open, and I think
স্যার ওগুলি ইম্পোর্ট করতে হলে ডাউনলোড করতে হবে না, সিম্পল ইম্পোর্ট লিখলেই ইম্পোর্ট হয়ে যাবে?
ইম্পোর্ট লিখলেই ইম্পোর্ট হবে, কিছু ডাউনলোড করার গুগল কোল্যাবে দরকার নেই। ওগুলো
যদি কোনো আইডি ব্যবহার করা হয় সেটা
তখন করতে হবে। ধরো তুমি আইডি করলে ইম্পোর্ট করতে হবে। ধরো যদি অ্যানাকন্ডা করো তাহলে ওখানে যেমন লাইব্রেরিগুলোকে ইনক্লুড করতে হবে। তুমি দেখে নেবে প্রথমে যে কী কী লাইব্রেরিগুলো আছে, সেটা দেখা যায়। এবারে যে লাইব্রেরিগুলো নেই, তোমার যেগুলো দরকার হবে সেগুলোকে তুমি আলাদা করে ইনস্টল করে নিতে হবে। সো পাইথনে এখানে নোট করো যে পাইথন কিন্তু ইউনো does not depend on the braces, instead it is used ইনডেন্টেশনস ইউজ করে, এবং যে যে প্রপার্টিগুলো বললো সেই প্রপার্টিগুলো অলরেডি ছোট করে লেখা আছে। ইউ ক্যান গো থ্রু দ্য প্রপার্টিজ। দ্য থিং ইজ দ্যাট, তাহলে আমরা পাইথনে দেখেছি যে ইফ ইউ জাস্ট রান এনিথিং, I just write it within the code like a print, this is a string, or you can write triple inverted comma, single inverted comma, double inverted comma, whatever be the thing, that all are the you know, in Python I can write like that. So এখানে just a simple Java program is written. In case of C we can write like that. In case of Python, I can just take the input like that by using some technique. Whether we can how we can write like that, we will be discussed later, but the basic thing is there is a functions uh, which is input, and within the input I am just writing enter first number and I am writing enter second number, and that will be stored in the variable a and b. Since I am taking integer, why I am writing this, that would be discussed in the next class, because the basic thing is the string input will return string str function, so that's why you have to convert it in integer. So that's why I am writing these two, and if we run this program, then you will see that that will be you know, like it is a connecting, so that's why that is take time, because I'm just changing the initialization, and you know, a particular connected, and that will uh, give you enter the first number. I'm just writing 45, then I'm just pressing enter, and I'm just giving second number, and then that will give you 1 2 3, that is the sum of this number. Now if I just remove this, what will happen? If I just remove this, you know, integer part, and just remove this, then what will happen? Then you understand why I am writing integer there. That will be discussed clearly in the next class, but the thing is that at least you should see. The thing is that I'm just writing this. So again the come, that is a first number, and I am just giving the corresponding second number, and what should be the result? You will see that will give you the string concatenation 4 5, you know, 5 6. So that means this input functions actually take the input as a string, ও স্ট্রিং হিসেবে নিচ্ছে। আমি তাই ওটাকে যদি ইন্টিজারে কনভার্ট না করি, তাহলে কিন্তু ওটা অ্যাড করছে কাকে? দেখো, দুটো স্ট্রিং এর মতো অ্যাড করছে। 45 is taken as a string and 56 also taken as a string, so it will be shown like 4 5 5 6. But if we convert it into integer, that means if we want to add thing, generally the input that will be taken by the Python is string number. So if you want to convert it, then I have to convert it first in, integer. First I have to convert it into integer, and then I can add it, then it will be work like that. If we take an integer, say, you know that will be the thing, then it will work uh, as we want. That means that will taken as an integer, and that will giving you the sum of this is 90. So whatever be the thing, uh, I think that particular part until this is clear to all of you. In the next class we will start discussing with the basic thing, that how a PVM will work as an interpreter, how the bytecode looks like or something else. Then mm, then we will see the thing. So let's see that whether we can see or not, that how the bytecode will be looks like that. And then we will go to the code, that means the data type and all those stuffs. So the thing is that you need not to install that, you just do it. Then with the Google Colab, that will be beautiful thing where you can run the Python program.